if Alexander the Great had lived 20 more years. Alexander the Great does not die in Babylon in 323 BCE. His sudden illness passes, and with it passes the moment when history originally fractured. What follows is not another wave of conquest, but something far rarer in the ancient world: deliberate restraint. Alexander, still young but permanently changed, understands that the greatest threat to his empire is no longer external resistance, but internal collapse. He abandons the idea of endless expansion and turns, instead, to consolidation. The Persian administrative system is preserved and refined, not destroyed. Satrapies remain intact, but oversight becomes institutional rather than personal. Taxation is standardized, census records are maintained, and a unified currency stabilizes trade. Power no longer flows from the charisma of a single ruler, but through bureaucratic continuity. This prevents rebellion, corruption, and fragmentation. The army undergoes a fundamental transformation. Once an instrument of conquest, it becomes a tool of stability. Macedonian dominance ends as Persians, Egyptians, Bactrians, and other regional forces are fully integrated into a professional imperial military. Veterans are settled across the empire as engineers, administrators, and educators. Military authority is separated from civil governance, preventing generals from becoming rival kings. The empire no longer expands violently. It hardens structurally. Alexander intensifies his policy of cultural fusion. Intermarriage among elites is not symbolic, but strategic, supported by land grants, political advancement, and educational privilege. Children of mixed heritage are raised within a standardized imperial education system, combining Greek philosophy, Persian statecraft, Egyptian mathematics, and Babylonian astronomy. Over generations, a new ruling class emerges, defined not by ethnicity, but by loyalty to imperial institutions. National identity dissolves before it can form. Greece, long unstable under foreign dominance, is neutralized through relevance rather than fear. City-states retain local autonomy while permanently losing independent military power. Athens is elevated as the cultural capital of the empire. Philosophy, art, and scholarship are state-funded. Greek intellectual tradition is not suppressed or romanticized. It is weaponized as a unifying language of reason. Egypt becomes the empire's model province. Governed efficiently and respectfully, it flourishes economically and culturally. Alexandria grows into the greatest intellectual center the world has known, supported directly by imperial authority. The Mausoleum and library evolve into permanent institutions where knowledge is collected, preserved, and expanded continuously. For the first time, scientific inquiry becomes systematic and uninterrupted by political collapse. In the East, Alexander abandons conquest in India and replaces it with diplomacy and trade. Stable eastern borders allow economic and intellectual exchange to flourish. Indian mathematics, philosophy, and military innovations influence the empire without resistance. Stability replaces exhaustion. To West, Alexander chooses patience. Rome is observed, not confronted. Without the collapse of Alexander's empire, Rome never exploits a fractured Hellenistic world. Roman expansion slows by generations as it studies imperial administration rather than practicing domination. Carthage is economically weakened through redirected trade routes, avoiding direct conflict. The Punic Wars never occur, and the Mediterranean remains primarily Hellenistic. Religion is managed with extreme caution. Alexander allows multiple interpretations of his authority while imposing no universal theology. Local gods persist, philosophical schools debate freely, and syncretism spreads. Religious conflict declines as dogma weakens and inquiry strengthens. Faith becomes personal, not political. Education becomes imperial policy. Literacy spreads beyond elites. Greek becomes the language of administration and scholarship, while local languages survive culturally. A shared intellectual framework connects continents. Empires before Alexander ruled land. This one rules thought. Most importantly, Alexander plans succession. Power is transferred from personality to institution. Governance is formalized through councils and procedures. When Alexander dies peacefully in his early 50s in Alexandria, the empire does not fracture. There are no wars of succession, no competing generals, no power vacuum. The single greatest cause of ancient imperial collapse never arrives. Without fragmentation, the Hellenistic world does not decay. Rome never dominates the Mediterranean. Europe develops more slowly, but with continuity. Centralized knowledge survives. Technological stagnation never fully occurs. The conditions that produced the historical Dark Ages are fundamentally altered. By the early centuries BCE, scientific and technological progress accelerates steadily. Mechanics advance. Medicine surpasses superstition. Geography becomes precise. Knowledge compounds rather than resets. The greatest transformation is psychological. Humanity learns that conquest is temporary, but systems endure. History shifts away from cycles of collapse toward continuity. In this timeline, Alexander the Great is not remembered as the man who conquered the world, but as the ruler who taught civilization how to survive itself.